Welcome to Nourished Stories from the Table. I'm Mel. I've always believed any good story is told around a table. It could be a dinner table, lunch table, breakfast table. But I've found that when people get together over food, people relax and stories just unwind. This is a podcast about asking questions that unravel those stories. So pull up a chair, make yourself at home, and let's see where today's conversation takes us because I'm hungry. Episode 1, Day Dot, where it all unfolds. This is where it all begins. I've had the idea for this podcast for the longest time, and I finally decided to do it. I don't have any fancy equipment. I don't have any fancy lighting. I'm wearing an old jumper. So I thought, let's just do it. Let's start. So today, our first guest asked a simple question that changed their whole career. Imagine that, a question, just one question. She forged a career over 15 years in the food industry, a through and through foodie, self-taught cook and chef, and seeker of adventure. Our guest loves feeding people and a good old yarn. She has been known to be quite opinionated, so I hear. So let's see how this story goes. Today, I would like to introduce you to, drum roll, me. I thought what better way to get to know me as someone in the food industry and now a podcaster, by sort of asking myself the questions, and you guys can get to know me and see where the story goes, really. In each episode, I'll ask pretty much the same questions. They're designed to start a conversation and uncover some interesting stories. So let's get cooking. Where am I? Where am I today, right now? I am in Santiago, Chile. We moved here, my husband and my 2 kids and I moved here about 6 months ago. My husband was offered a transfer that we could not say no to, and we love adventure, we love travel, and we thought, why not? So we're here for a few years, and I'm just, loving life here in Chile. The food, the people, the nature is really beautiful. We are in the middle of lots of rain at the moment. It generally doesn't rain here much in Chile, but we've got some seasonal winter rain. So hopefully the electricity stays on, because apparently when it rains here a lot, the power goes out. So fingers crossed. Tell me what started your professional food journey. Well, my professional food journey started when my son was born in 2010. I was living in Finland with my husband and my newborn. My husband is from Finland, so I lived there for about 5 years. I just had my son, and I would visit this beautiful little cafe in the city maybe once a week just to get out of the house with my baby. And I would have a piece of cake and a coffee and just hang out and, watch the world go by. And I got quite friendly with the owners of the cafe. And one day I asked them, hey, where do you get this carrot cake from? It was quite a nice carrot cake. It was, quite nice. And I said, oh, do you make these cakes? And they said, oh, no, we get them from a food supplier. It comes in frozen. I think the carrot cake comes in from the States. And I just thought, whoa, hang on, all the way from the States to Finland? That's crazy. So I asked them a simple question. The simple question was, if I made you my carrot cake and I brought it into you and you liked it, would you start buying cakes from me? And they said, sure. And that's what I think, just one simple question. And so I went home, made the cake, beautiful carrot cake with my white chocolate cream cheese frosting, double layer, chef's kiss, if I say so myself. And I took it into them. I didn't charge them for it. I said, look, you can just have it. You can, sell it or just try it out and whatever you want. Just, let me know what you think. So I dropped it off, went home, a few days went by, and I got a text message from them saying they absolutely loved it. And yes, they want to start buying from me. What else can I do? So I started making all their cakes, pretty much all their cakes and desserts for their two cafes in the city while I had a newborn. And we had just moved in to our house that we just built, which was not 100% finished. Think about that for a second. My husband was away at work all day, so I was at home with a newborn, sort of builders around us, and making probably 20, 30 cakes a week for these two cafes. So that started me on my professional food journey. But before that, it was my husband and I did a lot of traveling for his employment. Before we had kids, we were probably away from home. Well, actually, I should say this, we were probably home 40 days a year. So we were always somewhere. He had projects in different places around the world, and I tagged along. So, that ignited not only my passion in travel, but food and different cuisines and different points of view. So when I eventually was home, I just got into the kitchen and started creating, read a lot of cookbooks. I'm not a natural cook. I used to boil water dry in a pan, but I taught myself. So 100% self-taught. Yeah, so that's where my journey began. And then we moved back to Australia after my daughter was born 2 years later, probably 10 months after she was born, actually. And we moved to this small country town in Australia. We knew zero people. He was offered a transfer with the company he was with. And I started making little cakes and morning tea things like slices and zucchini slice. And I bought a esky, which is like a cooler. We call it an esky in Australia. It had wheels, and I would load that up every Wednesday. I put my kids in daycare on Wednesdays, and I would load the esky up full of all these little treats. And I would walk down the main street of the town, all the businesses. We're talking hairdressers, offices, government buildings, fire station, police station, ambulance, anything you can think of, boutiques. And the first time I did it, I just walked into these places and said, "Hi, I'm Mel. I'm a passionate cook, and I've made some morning tea. Would you like to buy some?" And more often than not, they said, "Oh, bloody oath, shit, yeah." And I would do that every Wednesday, and they sort of I think they looked forward to me popping in with my little cakes and cookies and slices and things like that. And that started with them asking me, "Can you cater my engagement party, my child's 21st birthday?" And then weddings. I ended up doing weddings. And then I was asked to cater a VIP tent for a music festival in town for about 400 people. That was insanity. A massive storm came through, and I had probably, I don't know, about 60 VIPs come into the kitchen trying to avoid hail while I had burners on and shit was happening everywhere, like it was a busy kitchen. And then all these drunk people just flocked into the kitchen trying to get out of the hail, and I was just like, what am I doing? Anyway, I also made friends with some people that owned a winery, and we did some beautiful winery dinners amongst the vines, and that it just grew out of that one simple question. So I think that's really important. Ask the question. This is what I've always said. If you ask someone a question and they say no, go ask someone else. Ask until someone says yes. Give it a go. Have a shot, because I mean the worst thing is that they can say no. Oh well, that's on them. Go and ask someone else, or just say yes to yourself, really. Well, that sort of explains the next question, where this passion for cooking comes from. That's definitely the travel and seeing the world and different points of view. And yeah, it just really opened up my eyes to what's out there. I've never been someone who wants to stay in one spot for too long. I'm a bit of a nomad, I would say. My husband is as well, and my kids have now caught the bug. I want to experience as much as I can in this short life that we have. Who is someone you look up to or gain inspiration from in cooking? It's a good question. Um, there's a couple of people that come to mind. My grandmother, my nana, my mum's mum, and my dad's mum as well. They were amazing home cooks. I remember my nan's chicken roast on a Sunday and homemade apple pie. That was beautiful. And just putting simple things together. And then my mum's mum, my nan, she was a German lady. She was, she fled Poland into Germany in World War Two. At the end of World War Two, she lost all her family. She ended up marrying a British soldier, my pop, who was a paratrooper in the British Army. And they immigrated out to Australia with their two young kids, my mum and my uncle, and with nothing. And they built a life. And she was really good at putting things together with not a lot, because I think that's what they had to do back in those days, right? When ingredients were scarce and you had to make food for your family. So I think I inherited that from her of, being able to look at the fridge or the pantry and go, okay, I've got this, and this. Let's make something good. But professionally, would definitely have to be Anthony Bourdain. We miss you, Anthony. I watched like when my kids were young. I used to watch his shows. I've read his book, and he was an incredible guy that just sort of opened up the world again to me. And just his passion for real stories and for real people and real good honest food and a good yarn, just a good chat. Yeah, so definitely those three people. If you could go anywhere right now for dinner, where would you go? Without a doubt, I would go to Sicily in Italy. Last year, I was lucky enough for my 50th birthday. My beautiful husband gifted me a trip by myself. One of my oldest girlfriends came with me to Italy for 3 weeks. And I went to culinary school in Calabria. And then my girlfriend and I drove to Sicily and did a bit of traveling around Sicily. I would definitely go back to a restaurant there in Cefalù, which is on the northern side of Sicily. And there was this beautiful little restaurant owned by, the quintessential Italian, beautiful salt of the earth couple that have owned it for, 20, 30 years. And I had the best spinach and ricotta cannelloni. It was just simple. The flavors were so like it's a simple dish, but the flavors in the sauce and the pasta was just perfect. And there was music. I'll paint a picture for you. There was music playing, like it's summer. We're out on the terrace. We've got the wine, and my best friend that I've known for almost over 40 years, I would say. I'm 50 now. Yeah. I met her when I was in third class. So we were just, having conversations, just thinking, wow, this is just amazing. And then we got talking to a couple on the table next to us, and we sat there for hours just talking shit and drinking great food and sipping great wine. So that's where I would like to go to dinner if I could be teleported right there. When you're in the kitchen, what are you listening to? For me, it depends. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's a podcast. But music-wise, I'm Gen X. I grew up in that beautiful bubble of music. So I was brought up on, the 60s and 70s music that my parents listened to, the 80s. And yeah, and then I started, forming my own musical taste from that. So, there was rock, grunge, bit of R&B, like I love all the old stuff. There is some good music now, but it's not as good, in my opinion. So yeah, I like to get that just definitely my number one would be our Lord and Savior, Alanis Morissette. We're not worthy. Yeah. I remember listening to her Jagged Little Pill when I was, oh goodness, I don't know, 19. That was insane. Insane. That's a brilliant album. I love listening to that album when I'm cooking because it's a little bit angry, but it gives you that passion while you're chopping and stirring and tasting and whatnot. It's a brilliant breakup album. I had actually gone through a really bad breakup when that album came out, and man, it was great. I needed that anger. Okay, yeah, and sometimes podcasts. I love true crime. I've been a true crime junkie since I was probably a teenager. I've read a lot of true crime, but podcasts are great for that now. I've seen all the documentaries. I can always figure out who the murderer is in any TV show or movie. And if I, and I say this to my girlfriends, if you need someone to get rid of a dead body, I have done the research. Jokes. Or is it? What is your favorite utensil in the kitchen? My favorite utensil in the kitchen would definitely have to be my Victronox tomato. Sorry, I'm not saying that right. My Victronox tomato knife. I've probably got 5 of them in my kitchen. I use them every day. I've got all my other chef's knives and, carving knives and all that sort of thing. But the Victronox tomato knife, not sponsored, by the way, unless you'd like to, Victronox, call me. Yeah, it's a really great versatile knife. They're cheap. They're only, small. They're not that big. You get the serrated one. That's why it's called the tomato knife because it can get through the skin of a tomato. I find if you use like your chef knife, like even if your chef's knife is quite sharp, the skin can blunt, make your knife blunt. So I prefer the tomato knife. It's good for like just little jobs, just chopping and slicing and things like that. So yeah, if you don't have one, I recommend getting a couple. They're only 10, $11. You can get them online. 100% recommend. Okay, and that brings me to, are there any rules in your kitchen? Absolutely. And they must be followed. Number one rule, when I'm in there and I'm in my zone and I'm cooking, don't come in. Don't come in. It will ignite such a rage in me. And I think a lot of people can relate to the rage when you're, you know, in the zone in the cooking and in the kitchen and someone comes in and just gets in your way and I give them the look while I'm holding a knife. I'm just like, really? Do you need to be here? I don't think cooking together is romantic at all. This is my dance space. You do not come into my dance space. So I'm sure many people can relate to that. Another one of my rules is if I see you washing any of my cast iron pans with soap, I will have such a reaction that you don't want to see it. It's rage because I do tell everyone knows in my house we don't do that. So I don't think it will ever be a problem. But if you're a stranger and you come into my house and you're like, oh, I'll clean up, great. That's why I became a cook and a chef because I don't like cleaning. The cook doesn't clean ever, not in my kitchen. Anyway, that's why I had kids. Yeah, don't. I mean, cast iron is a very porous thing, and if you wash it with soap, that soap's going to get into the pan, and it's not good. So just really, really hot water, and just scrape off all the bits that might be stuck to it. Dry it immediately, olive oil. Done. Simple. Okay, next question. Who's coming to your ideal dinner party? That's a really good question. And I mean, this gets asked a lot amongst friends and at dinner parties, like who's your living or dead? And people pick, famous or influential people and things like that. And I'm quite a simple bird. I would like, okay, I'm going to set the scene for you. I personally would like to be in Italy somewhere, or yeah, Italy, overlooking a beautiful body of water, the ocean, and I would like to have all my oldest, best girlfriends with me, just around a table. Aperol spritzes are flowing. We've got some aperitivo. We are just chatting. We're all looking fabulous, and it's warm, and the sun's going down, and that would be my ideal dinner party. So if we don't get together very often, I live in a different country to a lot of my friends and time zones, and we don't see each other very often. So that would be my ideal dinner party. I think I set the scene there pretty well. What's the best meal you've ever had? Oh, God, why did I ask that question? That's so hard to sort of pinpoint because I've had a lot of great meals. I mean, yeah, it would have to be probably that cannelloni in Cefalù, Sicily. That was, that's up there. I mean, some people might say, oh, I've been to this very, amazing high-end, restaurant where it was 15 courses degustation, and the chef was very talented, 3 Michelin stars. I do really appreciate that kind of food. I don't eat at those restaurants very often. One, because they're extremely expensive, and two, I quite prefer not to eat like that. I don't want 15 little plates, which, I mean, they're amazing, don't get me, like chef's kiss, but it's a very rare occasion. It's a special occasion, right? It's a treat maybe once a year. But some of the best meals I've ever had were at home or with friends. Or I remember I went 2024. I was in visiting a friend who was living in Copenhagen, an Australian friend, and she took us to this little restaurant that didn't look like much, but we had this beef tartare with the egg yolk on top, and it was, oh my goodness, it was beautiful, and it was, just beautiful, real food. I think so. I can't pinpoint one because there's been so many. I don't know why I asked that question. Silly girl. All right, and this is another one that's going around a lot at the moment. What's your last meal? My last meal I would need like a really fast private jet, or like a teleporter, because there's so many meals that I would like in different countries. And I just don't want them to magically appear. I want to be in the place where they're from. So that would have to happen. We'll start off we'll go to Southeast Asia. We'll go to Thailand, Bangkok, to a beautiful little street vendor for some, I don't know, incredible noodles or something like that. That would, yeah, little food vendor. And then we're going to fly to Italy, obviously. I think we all saw that coming for that cannelloni. And then we're going to come to Argentina for an incredible steak and some salsa. And then we're going to double back and probably go for dessert. We'll need to go back to Italy for an affogato with pistachio gelato. That's it. Drink wise, Aperol spritz. I'm that girl. Sorry if you don't like them. And some champagne. Yeah, that's pretty much my last meal. Yeah. Okay, here's a good one. And I want, like, while I'm asking these questions, I want you to ask yourself these questions as well. And what are your answers? So think about that. What is your foodie dream? Ah, I've got a foodie dream, and maybe in the next five years, it'll be real. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. I would like to host foodie retreats, either here in South America, Europe. I mean, Italy. Italy would be my dream. I would love to have property there with accommodation and a separate commercial kitchen where we could host foodie retreats, mainly for women, because I think us as women, we all need a bloody break. We're always trying to get away. Sorry, boys. Yeah, so like a separate commercial kitchen where we can do classes and supper clubs, and we can invite other chefs to come in and host these, lessons and community, and have like a beautiful big fruit and vegetable garden, and very much farm to table sort of eating. And I just, wander around being fabulous in my foodie retreat, making sure everyone's having a great time and feeding them. Feeding people is one thing that I love to do. Yeah. So that's my foodie dream. Foodie retreats. So mark this in the calendar. Episode 1. I've got 5 years to do it. I mean, sooner would be great. I'm ready. I just need some money to buy that property. Okay, this is also a good one. As someone who's been in the food industry for a long time, these are what are the things that you have in your pantry at all times, which allows you to put a meal quickly together? Okay, things I always have, a really good quality passata, tomato passata, tinned tomatoes. I've also always got some pasta and rice, like that's very important. Onions, carrots. I also make sure I've got plenty of flour and sugar. That's a basic. And in my spice cabinet, things I'm using really a lot at the moment is dill. I always make sure I have coriander, cumin, paprika, onion powder. And one thing I always use, I've been using a lot lately, is pickle juice. So obviously, when the pickles are all used up, just keep that juice in the fridge. When I'm making burgers, I'll pour some pickle juice in or into a sauce. Um, you might be making a mushroom sauce or something. Just a little bit of pickle juice gives it that nice little acidic kick. Salt and pepper, obviously, and butter, salted butter, and a very good quality olive oil. So I mean, with all those things, you could make a great meal. Also Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, not the fake shit, the stuff that you can only call it that if it's from the region in Italy. Yeah, so that's what I have, and some frozen veg, like frozen spinach, peas, broccoli, things like that, and yeah, tinned beans are good to have as well, and some tinned fish, so some sardines, some tuna. Obviously they keep forever, pretty much forever. So keep those in your cupboard, and if you're hungry, you can just chuck something together. Very easy. And the next question, favorite cuisine. I think we sort of broached on this before. It is hard to pick one. Southeast Asian food, and Italian food. Yeah, pretty. They're right up there. They're probably things I cook the most is Asian food and Italian food. Yeah, but now that I'm living in South America, I'm starting to discover South American cuisine. Chilean cuisine is really quite beautiful, very hearty, which I love. And Argentinian food, obviously, they do meat here really well. They love their bread here, which is great. So yeah, it's hard to pinpoint one. I love so many, but I would say Asian because Asian's so varied. It could be, Vietnamese, Chinese, Japanese, any of those Asian countries. So there's another question here. How has food changed the course of your life? Oh, it's changed the course of my life massively. Since I started when making cakes for the cafes, that sort of projected me onto things I never dreamed of. I was never, before I started traveling, I never saw food in my life professionally, but it was just something that sort of awoken in me, and I'm good at it. So, they always say, do what you're good at. Don't do what you dream of, do what you're good at. And that's what I'm good at. I can put food together really well. One of the most pivotal moments in my food journey was when I was in Italy last year. Again, I'm referencing Italy a lot because it's still in my heart and my soul. I was at the culinary school and we were asked to make a filled pasta and an accompanying sauce to go with it, where we present to the chefs. And I made a filled ricotta and parsley tortellini. And then there was this big table of all this produce and different ingredients. And we were just given carte blanche to create whatever we wanted. So I saw there was fennel, oranges, truffle. So I made a broth it was a vegetable broth, and I infused it with the fennel, the truffle, and the orange juice. I made this beautiful broth, and to present it, I had the cooked pasta in the beautiful bowl with the pouring jug of the broth, and I went up to the chefs and I said, "This is my dish." And they went and got the head chef, which they didn't do for anyone else's dish, and he came out to taste my dish. Head chef. It was really like a pivotal moment in my cooking career. So I poured the broth and he said, "You taste," and then he had a taste. And I don't know if you know this about head chefs or professionals in the kitchen. Chef John, he didn't give like praise, unwarranted praise, and he loved it. He said, "Really good service, cooked perfectly. The broth was beautiful. The flavors, the level of the profiles of the flavors were excellent." And that for me was like winning the lotto. I was on cloud fucking nine for the rest of the week. I was like, I just couldn't believe it. Like it's kind of like, I don't know, whatever, professional passion you have. It's like the Yoda coming to tell you what you've done is excellent. And I'm a self-taught cook and chef. I've worked in professional kitchens. I was head chef for a health retreat for a couple of years. I'm self-taught. Like I probably have no business doing any of these jobs, but I just have the passion and I'm good at it. I'm good at it. I I don't know why. It's just because I am. If you're good at something, there's nothing wrong with saying I'm good at this and I deserve to be here, you know? Yeah, so that was probably the most pivotal moment in my cooking career. Definitely. And I'm very proud of myself because it was good. I should be. Okay, my beautiful people, this is the conclusion of episode 1. I hope you loved listening to me waffle on. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to see where this podcast goes. I want to be interviewing real people, passionate foodies, people that just love to cook at home, chefs, cooks, travelers, because I really think that food is so integrated into who we are as human beings. Yes, it nourishes our bodies and keeps us alive, but it also can nourish our souls and, yeah, And we connect through food. There's nothing better than sitting around a table of, people that you love or admire and talking about the food and connecting on that level, right? It's just a level playing field. Yeah. So thanks again. Thanks for listening. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.